that we are dependent on so many things to come out of our biggest adversary in the world. They are the enemy, and we should not be dependent on them.
But no, they are not our enemy. They're our biggest trading partner. And if we
they've got rare earth minerals and you don't.
They're the enemy.
Right. But listen, but like it or not, sure, Michael, they are our biggest trading partner. And if we were to manufacture iPhones here, iPhones would cost $3,500. The American people are not going to tolerate that.
Where did she get that number? Did she just pull that number out of her ass and we just supposed to rock with it?
One of the highest standards of working conditions here. I don't think that we can say, forget you, China.
So it's okay. So you're okay. Hold on, sure, Michael. So you're okay. You're okay if we continue to put our own economic and national security future in the hands of our biggest enemy, because effectively they use slave labor to build stuff, and that makes it better for us. That is terrible.
I am 100% not okay with that, but I'm dealing.
So Scott, as usual, continues to be the voice of reason over at CNN. And if it's not for Scott Jennings, then CNN is a complete, well, I'm not going to say CNN itself is a complete failure, but this show, it looks like Scott is the person that is carrying this show day in and day out, no matter who comes on the panel. Sometimes they get Kevin O'Leary on here. Other times they get adversaries to sit opposite of Scott Jennings. Sometimes you then see some people that's over from The View and stuff like that that's on there. But for the most part, Scott Jennings is the voice of reason. And I am surprised. Actually, I'm not, because without him, I'm not sure that this show exists, because he is the real star of the show. But as usual, he put somebody else in his place. And in this instance, you see it's to be Tiffany Cross. Now, of course, you're going to see people from MSNBC like Tiffany Cross and other platforms and raging liberals. The other week, we had Angela Rye on there being emotional and telling Kevin O'Leary never to touch her and all of this stuff. And, you know, the whole narrative from strong black women, and that's cool. You know, I support diversity of thought. I don't think that we should operate in an echo chamber. But in this instance, Scott Jennings is right. Even if you don't necessarily care for Trump, even if you don't necessarily care for tariffs, you have to admit that we cannot put our national security, and when we say national security, we're saying that we don't have the infrastructure to support ourselves in a worst case scenario where, let's just say, you get into a war, or what happened during the pandemic in which everything had to stop and we had to depend on everybody else for ventilators or whatever it was that we was distributing in order for us to be able to scale it up. And then we had access capacity in our own plants and our own manufacturing, but because we don't make anything here in the United States of America, we then justify and say that, well, we got lower prices because we can get everybody else to do it cheaper, when that's not true. She pulled this number out of her ass and said that iPhones would cost $3,500, which reality, it wouldn't, but we would have corporations actually taking on more costs, because when you manufacture it outside of the United States of America, they keep the cost the same. They just don't pass that savings on to the consumer. So when you see people say things and they just spew stuff out of their mouth, which obviously in this instance, we got Tiffany Cross. Tiffany Cross, if you guys are not familiar with her, she used to do a show over on MSNBC, I believe, and it was like the Cross Out or something. You know how they give it the names. They just got rid of Joy Reid, and she was supportive over that, and it was like the Read Out or something. It's always something out. It's almost, it's like they're predicting their own future. But she has recently been in support of other people like Angela Rye and all of that. Ones that the undesirables, the ones that really can't communicate effectively, but they think that just because they were in a diversity, equity, inclusion hire, or they've been with an organization for a long time, that they deserve a job, but they wasn't able to hold the ratings nor speak to the issues that the people really wanted to hear, and this is why they find themselves on the outs. And in this instance, she's battling Scott Jennings, because obviously she's going to take the liberal view and perspective. And so the same things that they support over in China, or that they don't support over in China, is the things that we support as liberals over here in the United States of America. And they like to call them progressives. But the reality is that they're just supporting slave labor. And at the same time, they're allowing for people, our adversaries. I wouldn't go so far as what Scott is saying that they're our quote unquote enemy, but they're definitely our adversaries, and that they don't have the same value systems and views, and they don't have the same declarations that we have here in the United States of America, and they don't believe in the same things that liberals, hypocritically liberals, are protesting for over here. They believe that they can do it in other countries in order for us to take advantage of them, like child and slave labor. Let's continue on, because there is another clip a little bit after this, another clip where Scott Jennings and Tiffany Cross got into it on the same subject. Check it out.
And you cannot just go and say, I like it, it's mine now. It doesn't work that way. Well, that is what they're trying to do. And in this new world order, yeah, absolutely. When they're looking at Greenland and say, I like it, I want to take it for mine, that is a very colonized.
You have said you are.
I have never ever said we're going to go to Greenland and quote colonize it or steal it.
You're not a member of government, so you're irrelevant at that point. I'm talking about the president of the United States doing that.
You got fired from your job.
You can agitate.
So listen, watch this. So she can throw an insult and say that he's irrelevant because he's not a member of government. And so he laughs. You can see Scott Jennings actually laughing right here. And then he says, well, you're completely irrelevant because you got fired from your job over there at MSNBC. Why should we even listen to you? Why is your voice even relevant in this situation? And as you can see, she's going to get offended as a result of it. Let me rewind it a little bit. She's going to get offended as a result of it, and she's going to have her strong, oh my God, I'm wounded, strong black woman, hear me roar. Let me play the rest of the clip for you guys.
For mine, that is a very colonized.
You have said you are.
I have never ever said we're going to go to Greenland and quote colonize it or steal it.
You're not a member of government, so you're irrelevant at that point. I'm talking about the president of the United States doing that.
You got fired from your job.
You can agitate.
Scott, if you want to engage in personal insults,
I don't, but you
what
do.
you lack in the legitimate point, you make up for in personal
I don't. You
personal insults. The point I am making is in this new world order, we are looking at countries, whether or not they're an adversary or ally, it is being determined on what kind of deal we can get. And we cannot govern, we cannot legislate that way. We are increasingly isolated on the world stage.
No, we're not.
So if you want to engage in personal insults,
we're not
if I were
isolated.
you, I would reserve that for your party who is increasingly isolated. Our position.
Oh, now you're hurt. Now you're offended. You said that he was irrelevant when he's not. First of all, he is a voice of reason. Secondly, he speaks on behalf of a lot of people. Third, he is a voter. And fourth, he does have political commentary and inside thoughts or insider information on the thoughts and the mindset of how our government is supposed to be ran, which then can be communicated over to the people. And what is the people? What is the government? The government is voted on by the people. And so she says he's irrelevant. And she chose her words carefully. And then he said, you're irrelevant. And insert here as a result of you getting fired. So your voice is less relevant than mine when it comes to these conversations that we having on these panels about what our government should and shouldn't be doing. And then she wants to get offended as a result of it because, oh my God, what's good for the goose isn't good for the gander. It's the pot calling the kettle black. But I would argue that Scott's opinion is much more effective and much more relevant to these conversations than Tiffany Cross. But this is the usual. As usual, they always want to feel hurt. They always want to be bothered. They always want to be impacted by what somebody is saying when they then call them out on their BS and it don't work for them. You cannot stand up and say one thing and then feel hurt when somebody come at you with that same type of energy. Keep the same energy and then we're going to have a conversation. And if you don't want it, then you shouldn't have said it to invite that type of reality check. I don't even want to say insult. That type of reality check in the first place. Let me know what y'all think about these conversations. I think that Scott is the person that's carrying CNN right now. Not in every way, but definitely on that show. Let me know what y'all think about Tiffany Cross versus Scott Jennings. And if his voice is more relevant than hers and vice versa. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, Teach Henley, 40% off your first order, plus 20% off for life. And yes, definitely tap into the Patreon because we had a great live stream last night. It was awesome. Make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel, hit a like for the algorithm, and then share this with your family and friends. I will be checking back in the chat to see what you guys got to say. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to see y'all on After Hours tonight. Peace.